Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Prophecy Cup. We are here in week 2, and we are tuning into the big black clocks facing off against the Whale Hunters in a best of 3. I'm Coach Kaiser, and with me I have the Doc. How you doing, Doctor?
I'm doing good. Fueling up with some Red Bull energy. I'm getting ready to cast some League of Legends. I'm getting excited.
You're ready for 3 games, huh? Fueling up with the Red Bull, man.
Always.
Ambitious.
Always prepared for 3 games.
All right, I hear it. Well, this should be a pretty good matchup. We're finally getting into the game here. We are going to see a couple bands lost because the side of the Whale Hunters had a couple players that were running a little late. You know, for those of you guys that are up in that Midwest area, the Ohio area, going through that crazy winter weather right now, best of luck to you guys. But I don't know, where you at, Doctor? Have you been encountering any of that?
I'm in the Boston area, so it's pretty cold right now. We got some snow last night. We got a surprise little whiteout conditions about an hour ago, but
Okay.
it's just cold. It's all it is. You bundle up, you're good.
Yeah, there was a funny picture circulating of some guys from the University of Wisconsin, I think, or maybe actually it was Minnesota, walking around with the shorts on in this kind of negative 20-degree weather. Just some people you can't convince, man.
Well, that's fine. They'll just get frostbite and they'll learn their lesson. They won't do that again.
Very true. But so far in this game, we do have the a couple bands going out, the Casson and the Zach. Nothing too crazy. I'm gonna go ahead and guess. I didn't do my due diligence, but probably the little bit of target banding going on right now.
Yeah, when you see Hecarim get banned away, it's a target. it's not super meta right now. It's not something everybody's picking up, but that's a target ban. And we finally see the first ban from the Whale Hunters, and it is the Aurelia ban.
Yeah, that's not too surprising. She has been a powerhouse for a while, although they did nerf her a little bit. Nerf the ultimate, got rid of that disengage, or I can't remember the exact name of that term, but got rid of that ability that allowed her to really lock down champions and keep them from fighting back in her ultimate. So that does kind of nerf the champion a little bit, but still probably a power pick, I'm sure, for these guys that have been playing her for the last couple weeks.
Yeah, I think the nerfs weren't too crazy. Obviously, they were trying to bring the champion a little bit back more in line with what they wanted her to be. But still definitely worthy of drawing bans, and these first couple picks from each team are so left field from what the meta actually is right now. It's kind of crazy, but I definitely love seeing some Callista.
You know what? I hate to break it to you, that is not a Callista.
Right.
I might have had a small error there with the program. Let me see. That is actually a Nico that I do not have an image for. So, because that champion is still just new enough where we have not added the pictures for that champion. So,
Oopsie.
Unlucky. But
Is it a Malphite?
That is oh wait. No, I'm sorry. The Callista was right. The Malphite was wrong. I'm sorry. I'm losing my mind.
Okay.
The Malphite is actually the Nami. The Vi pick is correct, and yeah, I'm because they're doing the client draft instead of the pro draft. It's throwing me off just a little bit here. I forgot to type in a couple of these picks, so we're gonna kind of throw the 2 other picks up here for the other side. They did pick up the Zin. They did pick up the Swain, and now looking at that last pick for the red side, and it looks like they are actually gonna pick up the Aatrox there. So another pretty strong top laner.
Alright, so I'm actually really liking this draft so far. The Callista pick, though, still does seem a bit odd, even going into... Well, it was a blind pick, so they're really putting a lot of focus onto deep focus there. And Callista is one of those champions that you can do a lot of damage with. Like, if you can get ahead and keep away, you can do, like, just untold amounts of damage.
Right.
However, going up against Vi Nico, that's going to be pretty difficult. Vi obviously having, the press R button, the assault and battery, it's really hard to get away from that.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've got this Kane being banned out, they've got the Akali being banned out. It'll be interesting to see what gets picked up in the jungle for clocks. I'm actually kind of surprised that they banned out the Kane, since we do see that Vi already picked up.
Yeah, I agree. It's
honestly, I'm gonna go ahead and blame it on myself. I probably have put these in out of order, considering we're already, if you guys could see the client draft, we've already got the spectator delay rolling. So you know what? I probably just saw it out of order, to be honest with you. But also seeing the Sejuani and the Rammus banned out. So yeah, I think probably the buy was a little out of order. I think they were still waiting for that one.
These things do happen.
Yeah,
so
sorry about that, buddy.
No worries. We can at least look at the picks that they do have, right? So right now, I'm assuming that's going to be a Swain mid. Yeah, so that's going to be a Swain mid. Heading into, I believe... I would have assumed it was going to be a Nico top, but it's looking like it's an Aatrox.
Yeah.
Mid, not a top. So Swain versus Aatrox... That's definitely an interesting matchup, and it's not something we've seen a ton of.
Yeah, and then it looks like they're going to pick up the Kennen for the top lane on the other side, so if it is actually that Nico Kennen top lane, that's going to be a very interesting matchup. I kind of want to give it to Kennen, but at the same time, that Nico damage early game off of her Q is just so strong if she lands on champions.
Yeah, I would definitely give it a little bit towards Nico in the beginning, like you said, because of that high early game damage. Being able to land the EQ combo hurts so bad, especially when you run Electrocute. But Kennen, depending on which Kennen we do see, whether it's the AP Kennen, which is probably going to be, I don't think AD's in a fantastic spot right now, but it's definitely workable. But if it's the AP Kennen, then come mid-late game, we're just going to see some absolutely bonkers trades, team fight-wise, between the two ultimates going off, with the huge burst damage between both of them. That it's going to be really interesting to see who can get it off first, because while Nico's doesn't have that same CC function with the passive, it's just so much damage, and
it is.
When the enemy team is fairly squishy, like Swain's going to be probably the tankiest member on the team, and that's if he goes the Roa build. If he doesn't build a Roa, he's still not super tanky himself.
Yeah, and since you're on that topic of the tankiness of that big black clocks team, I'm interested in how they're actually going to try to play this team comp, because they could look for the split push with possibly the Kennen or possibly even the Swain trying to split there. But in terms of fighting for the objectives like Baron and like Dragon, it's going to be such a hard fight for them against the likes of Thresh and Vi, and like you said, the Nico ultimate. If she can even get two people realistically in that ultimate, as long as it's two of the squishier people like the Kalista or Soraka or even Xin Zhao, it's going to do so much for that team.
Yeah, I mean, the really good thing that BBC have going for them is how much AoE they do, right? You're going to have Kennen, running around using his ultimate, that's AoE. The Kalista obviously going for the Hurricane, a lot of AoE. The Swain and the Xin Zhao ultimates are both kind of counteractive-wise, because the Xin Zhao is going to push him away when Swain wants him to be near, but they're still both AoE damage. And then the Soraka is going to be sitting on the back line, throwing down those Qs, using the ultimate. So if they can get the Whale Hunters to funnel in anywhere, they're going to get a really big advantage there by being able to just completely lock down the corridor.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be very interesting to see once those fights start to break out. And we actually had a couple games last night that we were watching that were just absolute kill fests. And I feel like that's kind of like what people default to at the beginning of a lot of these patches, especially now that we're sitting at the beginning of the season as well. So it'll be interesting to see how these teams decide to kind of play it out. If they're going to go for the heavy kills and just all out brawl, or if they're going to kind of look for the more strategic ways to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can do. With the changes to the jungle, too, coming in and making a pretty big difference. I'm surprised we're not seeing more low econ junglers. These are both really early game heavy gankers that have to get going before they can really do anything.
Yeah, definitely. I'm interested to see where both these junglers actually start out, because both of these junglers really match each other fairly well in the early game. I think there's maybe a slight edge in favor of, well, honestly, actually Vi with the shield and her abilities, but at the same time, Zen still puts out a ton of damage. I think it would really be who's engaging on who and who has more health at the time. So I'm anxious to see how that ends up being played out.
Yeah, I mean, if Vi gets, if Vi hides in Pixel Bush and gets, a full combo off before Jin Zhao can even respond, that's a one trade. Doesn't have the opportunity to respond back because he's going to be dead before he gets the time to, regen that health. Jin Zhao onto Vi, however, is a bit trickier because that shield is very instant. So as soon as Vi lands an ability, she gets that shield. And so it's something that even though he'll have the early advantage there by getting that burst damage in, he's a bit more sustained. So he's going to have to work and fight through that shield. So overall, the advantage probably goes to Vi, but it's not going to last for long.
Yeah. And since we're already talking about the jungle, see that interesting pathing that Zen and Kennen just took, and because of that ward that the side of Whale Hunters was able to get down in that pixel bush, they saw that Zen actually started really late on that blue buff. He wasn't ready to start the buff as soon as it spawned, so Vi actually with a little bit of an edge right now, and gonna get the Scuttle Crab right now, and I'm wondering if she's gonna go for that vertical jungle and try to pick up the red buff from Zen.
I would assume that's the path they're gonna take because they might have seen Jin on the pixel bush again when he went for that Scuttle Crab, which would have given them so much information and allowed that red buff steal to come out.
Yeah, and actually that just changed her mind. She saw him in the pixel bush. She saw him go back down towards his own red buff. So now she's backing off and going towards her own red buff as well.
Yeah, with the bottom lane of BBC pushing so aggressively, they would have been so much quicker to respond, and Vi would have been caught out very deep in the enemy jungle.
And she did get spotted out there by Ghost Poro Ward, so they know, the side of Clocks know that she is also at her own red buff as well. So far, not too hard to track these junglers.
Yeah, pretty standard paths, even though it did look a little wonky there with, the possible steals coming in, but it looked like they knew what they were looking for.
That was a nice hook in the bot lane. Actually, let me just double check real quick. I'm forwarding up a little bit. What time are you at currently?
I am at 320.
Okay. I'm at 326, 27, 28, and we actually just saw that Aatrox go down to that Ignite. Just to
Alright,
double check with me. Yep, okay. I don't know why. For some reason right now with the spectator client, there's a little bit of a bug where the loading screen takes a little longer for us, and so.
Oh, I know. The spectator client is always a little special.
So unfortunately, kind of missing that first fight, but Aatrox being forced to use his flash and still goes down to the Ignite out of Swain. That's gonna be pretty massive in that lane.
Yeah, Aatrox was actually super close to his own tower when it happened as well, so we lost a lot of minions there. And we can see the CS differential being so massive, with Swain already having 3 times as many minion kills on top of that first blood gold. So Swain's going to come back with a catalyst when Aatrox comes back with absolutely nothing.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge boon for him, and I'd like to see the oh gosh, I'm losing track. Xin Zhao try to make a gank happen, but in the bot lane, Vi's about to make something happen here.
Ignite burned early. They do get the connection and the hook onto the Kaisa. Means kill's finally going to go down, and it does go to Thresh, unfortunately, but a kill is a kill is a kill.
It is. I mean, at least Kaisa and Vi are able to pick up the assist there. They're going to get something. And now Zen making the play in the mid lane.
And that is an unfortunate situation for No Jumper featuring Killy, because that's now 2 kills going over to his direct lane opponent. We can see the kill bounty coming in right there as well. 450 gold to whoever can manage to kill the Swain. And I don't think that lane is going to be standing much longer.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough challenge getting that bounty in. That's kind of what I was trying to build up to say a moment ago, is I would love to see the Zen really focus on that mid lane now that that flash was blown on the Aatrox and how far behind he was. And that was exactly what I feel like they needed to do to really start to snowball this game a little bit.
And the issue, another really big issue with Aatrox is once he gets behind, he doesn't do a whole lot for a long time. Like, he's not going to be able to get these AD, bonus stats. He's not going to be able to, make use of his, lifesteal passives or anything like that, because he's just simply not going to be putting out enough damage. And that's a huge key part to what the Hunters needed from this comp, right? They needed a lot of sustained damage from that Aatrox, and right now he's not going to be doing it for a long time.
Well, we mentioned it when we were talking about the team comps, but the Swain is a big deal for the comp of Clocks because they really need him to be able to be kind of this off tank, sit in the middle of the fight, survive. And with the 2 kills up now, that's a reality for him. They'll be able to actually play around him quite a bit. So that's going to be great for them once they start to focus on these objectives. I'm not so concerned about them being able to fight for the Dragon and maybe even the Rift Herald early on now because the Swain has managed to pull ahead.
Yeah, and I mean, the Swain also being ahead is his passive, right? Look at how much CC is available to the Clocks. They have everything that Kennen builds. They have the knockup from the Xin Zhao, the knockup from the Callista. All of these are triggerable for that Swain passive to pull somebody back in. And it's just going to be one more pick potential opening for them when these fights do come. Because if you throw out that Callista ult and all of a sudden you knock up the Kaisa, then you just pull them right back in and then you just combo everything else right on top of that.
Yeah, I don't know that I want to be throwing the Soraka in. Maybe trade out the dagger and put it on Zin later on, but I agree. And ooh, a nice flash.
Yeah, definitely some poor shenanigans going on in the Hunter's jungle, and this is a coincidence, not a coincidence, a direct correlation to that Aatrox being so down.
Absolutely.
Because he can't push the lane, he's getting shoved in, and then it's just, your only chance and licenseless just, making the jungle their own.
Yeah, definitely. I was thinking the exact same thing. We're on the same wavelength right there. Because with Aatrox being so far behind, that's free reign for Xin to go in and try to make these invades because he knows that the Swain can back him up in those fights. And so now not only is the mid lane going to struggle, but Vi is also going to struggle a little bit. It'll be interesting to see what she's able to do once she does hit this level 6 mark here in a second, and where she's really going to prioritize. They might be able to make something happen on the Swain in the mid if they can actually land their CC correctly, but I feel like that's almost a lost cause and she needs to maybe look at the top lane and try to help Nico get ahead here. She is doing really well as she goes into this fight.
Nico with a big advantage there. Both ultimates going off and triggering the flash forced out of Lee Saitama. And that's repeat gank. That's Vi going back into that top lane. Now that she's just off of 6, that's a kill right there on the repeat.
Yeah, absolutely. And he does not have the teleport, so he's actually going to end up staying here for a second because he doesn't want to lose that wave. And luckily for him, Vi's already backed off. Actually, maybe lucky for Vi since Xin Zhao was up there and was kind of ready to be able to make that counter gank.
Yeah.
Not going to be able to kill Nico by himself, though.
No, he's just there to, apply some pressure, make sure that Kennen can actually get that wave. They didn't know that the Vi had left yet, so they had to make sure that there wasn't a dive incoming.
Yeah, and we are seeing Vi kind of hover towards the bot lane. This is definitely a potential here. Callista and Soraka not the best at disengaging, especially with the Thresh Lantern.
Thresh Lantern gonna land the hook with the flash, and goodbye, I'm out of here. There's a Callista ult coming in clutch.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Nico teleported down, though.
Yeah, she wanted to get a piece of that action, but again, the Callista ult just disengaged absolutely everything. I was sitting here saying that they didn't have much disengage, but ooh.
Vi's coming in, throws down the assault and battery. The hook is gonna land as well. There's the ultimate from the Soraka, keeping them alive. Nico says, not today, and then gets the kill. Nico's gonna survive by the skin of her tail. Unfortunately, she sacrifices the Thresh, and now Licenseless Rider is just gonna walk down, bout to bust. Does he get the kill? Doesn't land the eyeball, forces the flash with the claws though, doesn't have quite enough damage on the dragon explosion, and so everybody's gonna walk away cleanly from that. Just summoner spells traded, but this should mean the dragon going over to Big Black Clocks.
Wow, Bout to Bust took a massive risk there by sitting there trying to dodge that eye. I mean, don't get me wrong, it does some damage, it would have slowed him down a bit, but we knew that the Swain's Grasp was about to come off cooldown. and that would have been a huge CC if he could have landed that. Luckily, Kai'Sa did have the flash and the heal that she was able to burn in that fight. But I think maybe if you just walk through the eye, you take that bit of damage and kind of suck it up, you're able to make it out of there without the flash being burned. But either way, that was a great kind of counter-engage coming out from the side of Clocks, able to really take back a couple kills in that fight. I think it ended up being just a 1-for-2 in favor of Clocks. So, great turnaround.
Yeah, when all you lose is your Soraka, but you pick up a Vi and a Thresh,
Yeah.
that's all chat worth.
Definitely. Oh no, Soraka!
Another hook gonna land. There's no ultimate for Kalista just yet, but they do have a friendly neighborhood Xin Zhao coming in, keeping him down. Deep focus with the Rend. Gonna be able to pick up another one. He's going in. Can he get it? No, fishing and bot does not quite have the damage, and that is 2 kills going over to deep focus on this Kalista, and things are starting to spiral out of control.
Yeah, just a little bit. That was just very unlucky. That was a beautiful hook coming out of Thresh, and they kind of felt that pressure of, alright guys, we just lost a fight in the bot lane, let's try to make something happen. The jungler shouldn't be down here again, but guess what? Xin Zhao is right around the corner, he's able to come in clutch and save the Soraka and also pick up that double kill. So that was great map awareness, great play out of the side of Clocks. And Aatrox is trying to make something happen.
He's finally getting some damage, but it's not going to be enough. He's going to resurrect. But there's the Soraka ultimate. Hashtag outsmarted. But that is unfortunate. And that is...
Yeah.
He had it, and then this is why people don't like playing against Soraka. Because it's just... You're like, I got it, guys. I got the kill. I'm going to make it work. And then Soraka just presses R.
Yeah, that might be the big thing for this team for Clocks is... Now that they're starting to get ahead, the side of Whale Hunters are really feeling like they need to be proactive, like they need to try to make some kind of play happen to get back in this game, as we see a gank happening in the top lane.
He gets the bushwhack, and the Nico ult's gonna miss, unfortunately, but it doesn't matter. She landed the root, she's able to get it in, but now here comes the Xin Zhao trying to make the return kill. He gets ignited, still gets the kill. He makes his chance count. Can he survive it? He does. Defocus coming in with the save, picking up yet another kill, and these bounties are growing pretty big.
Yeah, and once again, you think you have the advantage, you're coming in for the gank, 1v2, and of course, the bot lane have gotten their turret, and now they're rotating top, and they're able to pick up that kill, along with the Xin Zhao, who just happened to be nearby. So, just, once again, they're trying to be proactive, they're trying to find a way back into this game, but they're just spiraling further and further behind.
And it's not that they're making bad plays either,
no,
right?
It's not.
Like, these are good, proactive plays. It's just that Big Black Clocks are ready for it. And when you have so little vision like the Whale Hunters have, like, they have that one ward on the enemy blue buff, but it wasn't enough. They didn't have anything in the river, so they didn't see any of the team coming up. And so they unfortunately just kind of got, routed, even though they got the kills and, made stuff happen.
Yeah, absolutely. At least we are starting to see Aatrox do a little bit of damage in this lane. He's actually forcing Swain to maybe not play quite as aggressively as he has. But, we just saw... Did the Rift actually get picked up? Or has it... Yes, it got picked up by Xin Zhao there after that top lane play. So it'll be interesting to see where they decide to play that. Because it is pre-15, just barely. Well, actually, they really don't have any of the... turret shielding left to really knock down for that extra gold, so I really hope they use it on an inner or an inhib turret, try to get at least one of them, if not two. That's just such a massive power play, and with how far ahead these guys are right now, they could definitely end this game early if they're able to use it correctly.
Yeah, they definitely... I think the move here is they all push mid, try and take the tower before needing to burn the Herald. Pop it, either right as you're taking the tower or afterwards. And we can see here that they're just going to take that tower. They might even hold the Herald. Nope, there it is. There's the pop.
I would have liked them to get a pick first, to be honest. But this is still fine.
Yeah, I mean, with how safe the Whale Hunters are playing, it'd be incredibly difficult to get a hook when they don't have... they don't have that Thresh hook to just, make a play happen. They have to either wait for the Swain or wait for, throwing Soraka at the enemy team.
Yeah, here comes the fight, though.
but the Nico is not gonna matter. The Sultan Battery onto the Soraka is not enough. They can't kill her, and she's just keeping everybody alive. The ultimate goes on, and it is a complete rout for Big Black Clocks. They're gonna get 4 for 0. They're gonna work their way into the tower. They are gonna pick up the 5th kill there. There's the ace. There's the surrender. And the first game is over in 16 minutes in favor of Big Black Clocks.
All right, that was a pretty quick game. That was a. We kind of mentioned that the Rift Herald can do that to you, and being down 15-3, losing that team fight, that was kind of just go for broke play there out of the Whale Hunters. They're like, all right, either we're going to win this team fight and we'll make a play at coming back, or we're just going to go ahead and surrender this game and move on next, and hopefully we can recover. But what do you think the Whale Hunters really need to do to be able to recover from this matchup?
So coming back from that game, it was really unfortunate that their mid laner was just bopped so hard. And I think it was a matchup issue. I don't know if the skill disparity is exactly the whole cause of that. But, was ganked, was just solo killed. And that's unfortunately what happens in that matchup, right? Like, it's Swain versus a melee attacker that doesn't really have too much early sustain, right. So it's you're poked down very aggressively, you're keep getting brought back in, you get first blooded, you're like, all right, I need to make it work, I don't have TP, so I lost 20 minions, I'm just gonna farm, and then you get ganked, and it's really hard to come back from that. And every other lane except for bottom lane was fine. Like, their jungler was fine, the Vi was fine, other than getting invaded on because not having a mid laner. The Nico pick was fine. It didn't do anything spectacular, but it didn't lose.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think if you just change up a couple draft situations, then you end up being in a much better position than what we saw in game 1.
Yeah, I agree with you. And we'll have to wait to find out how game 2 ends up going. We're going to take a quick break here, but when we come back, more Prophecy Cup action coming at you. Take back a couple kills in that fight. I think it ended up being just a 1 for 2 in favor of Clocks. So, great turnaround. Yeah,
when all you lose is your Soraka, but you pick up a Vi and a Thresh, that's all chat worth.
Definitely. Oh no, Soraka!
Another hook gonna land. There's no ultimate for Kalista just yet, but they do have a friendly neighborhood Xin Zhao coming in, keeping him down. Deep focus with the Rend. Gonna be able to pick up another one. He's going in. Can he get it? No.
This is still fine.
Yeah, I mean, with how safe the Whale Hunters are playing, it'd be incredibly difficult to get a hook when they don't have, they don't have that Thresh hook to just, make a play happen. They have to either wait for the Swain or wait for, throwing Soraka at the enemy team.
Yeah, here comes the fight though.
But the Nico is not gonna matter. The Sultan Battery onto the Soraka is not enough. They can't kill her, and she's just keeping everybody alive. The ultimate goes on, and it is a complete rout for Big Black Clocks. They're gonna get 4 for 0.
in my domain. Got the whole crowd screaming out our name. It's a blowout, it's a hurricane. It's over before you know it. While you shaking, we're a dynasty in the making. We're the royalty. Now we're breaking down the enemy. Move over for the soldiers. Take a swing, I can take a hit. If we die, it's fine. We live for this. It's all for this. We're gonna stand on top with our hands in the sky. Gonna raise our cup to the stadium lights. For the glory, for the glory. We celebrate with the city tonight. Hear the hometown cheer, it's the ultimate high. For the glory, we do it for the glory. Yeah, we've waited for our time to come. Calculated everything we've done, we've upgraded. Now you can't outrun a champion. Now you're facing one. Can you hear them? Yeah, it's all for us. You believe them? Yeah, it's serious. Hear the siren. We're victorious. I'm telling you. Yeah, hell yeah.
Alright, hello guys and welcome back. We are getting into game 2 of the Whale Hunters versus Big Black Clocks, and I'm Coach Kaiser once again. Joining me is Doctor, and how do you feel after being able to digest that first game a little bit?
I'm feeling pretty good because I think that the Hunters will recognize the issues in the draft that they had and try and recuperate. So that way they can, come in with clearer heads, make sure that they get the draft down the way they want, and get picks that either they're more comfortable on, because I don't know if the Aatrox pick was just uncomfortability or if it was maybe matchup related, but, get people more on picks that are more gonna, work for them.
Yeah, definitely. And, we kind of talked about the team comp at the very beginning of the game, and I actually kind of going into that game thought that the Whale Hunters had a decent team comp. But it just, like you kind of mentioned there, it seemed like just the failures in the lane led to them not really being able to utilize that team comp again. So maybe they should look to pick some champions that they're maybe a little more comfortable on, or even looking for maybe the counter picks rather than trying to just pick your matchup and not worry about what the other team's going to play.
I think another issue that they might have had is they went pretty heavy on scaling, which this patch is pretty much a complete no-go. Like, this patch, everybody just wants to go in, they want to get the kills, they want to get the gold on the plating, and, the Hunters were like, we're going to get a scaling top laner, we're going to get a scaling mid laner, we're going to get a scaling bottom lane. And then they're like, well, good luck, Vi. We need you to gank all 3 lanes and worry about your own jump. And when that happens, as soon as the first domino falls, it all comes apart. We've all seen those compilations where they're building the giant, card towers, and that one guy just nicks it too much, and they all just die inside. Yeah, that's what that.
I hear you on that one. And so getting into this next draft, we do still have the couple bans being missing from the Whale Hunters for having a couple players late to the matchup. But they're still banning out the Aurelia. We see the same 3 bans from the side of Clocks, banning out the Cassidy, Zac, and the Hecarim. And we do see one difference already, picking up the Akali on the side of Clocks. So playing the Akali, where do you think that's going to go, mid or top?
Considering how one-sided the mid lane was last game, I can definitely see licenseless try and flex a little bit. Just, take that, heavy feast or famine mid laner and just dominate. Because if you can go 5-0 on Akali, which is what the score was last time, the game's over. Like, you will not die, you will not lose. And so it's something that I can definitely see them wanting. And with the Soraka following it, that's super bold. Because as soon as everybody hits 6, Akali is just like, all right, it's my turn. Game's over. And it's just going to dive, Shroud. If she gets into any trouble at all, we're going to see the Wish come out. And so it's a very aggressive pick, and it's a very feast pick.
Yeah, it's going to definitely cause some issues, I'm sure, later on. And we do see the Swain being stolen now, taking over the side of Whale Hunters. I'm interested to see how well Jumper can play that champion against what looks like going to be a Victor in the mid lane, actually. So the Akali will probably end up being that top lane.
Which is totally doable.
Yeah.
It does, obviously change my thoughts a little bit. But the Akali Soraka combo still stands, and it's still going to be relevant. Now, the other thought process is, did Whale Hunters pick the Swain to try and counter the Akali? Because if they did, I don't know if that's a horrible matchup heading into the Victor instead. Victor's going to wave clear and try and roam, but Swain's wave clear can be pretty decent, so I don't know if it's as hard a counter as BBC may think it is.
Yeah, real quick before I touch on that, the Nami ban there is actually the Nico being banned out, so even though we know she wasn't going to the top lane since Akali's going there, we are not going to see the Nico in the support or anything like that. And
Nico jungle?
Yeah. Well, actually, no, I'm sorry. The Whale Hunters, they still hadn't picked their top lane, so they could have gone for that Nico top lane if they wanted to pick that up. But anyways, with that matchup between the Swain and the Victor, I feel like that does still slightly tip in the favor of Swain, but like you mentioned, it's not like he's going against the Akali as a melee champion anymore. So with Victor, like you mentioned, he does have that great wave clear, and once he hits level 6, that could very easily turn in favor of Victor if he's the one starting the fights, especially if he's got his jungler making the gank happen. And we don't know yet who exactly that jungler will be, but considering how active Chance was in the last game, especially making plays happen in that mid lane last game, I feel like there's a good chance that they will be able to make that happen if that's their goal.
Yeah, and when you see Thresh, Ezreal, Swain, you're gonna gank that Swain lane. Top lane might be immobile as well, but you're Swain's slow, he's heavy. Victor has a ton of burst. If I pick a CC champion for my jungler, it lets him sit down the gravity well, which then just, combos CC wise, and then you can get a really early kill onto the Swain and set up a situation like we had last game. But it looks like they're just going to go right back to the Xin Zhao. They know it works. They've already done it once. And, they didn't have to change any of their team comp from last game because it won in 15 minutes, right? They know it works. They, they chose to change it up, and they're this is a confident team comp from them, right? They have the assassin top lane, they have the immobile mid lane, they have the super hard scaling 80 carry, and the junglers and support are yeah, we're just gonna do exactly what we did last game, and we're gonna win.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned, jungle and support is the main consistent part of this team comp. Soraka was honestly really strong in that last game. We did see her get picked off at one point. And then we actually saw that fight in the bot lane where it looked like they were going to get the pick, and it turned around on them completely. I think they played really well around that Soraka. I do think the Vayne is going to be a little bit of a weaker pick in the first 6 levels or so. I really love the Callista Wren, and I feel like they have done just enough to buff that champion, make her playable again in the last patch. But I think in the matchup, Ezreal versus Thresh, we saw the Thresh from last game, fishing and bot, played it decently well. He landed some good hooks, but at least they switched up the Ezreal. Maybe they'll be able to scale a little bit better. The poke will be great against the Vayne. I feel like they should be able to win this lane if they play it right.
My issue with the Ezreal pick, though, is that if you turn League of Legends into rock paper scissors, poke beats engage, engage beats sustain, but sustain beats poke, right? And Ezreal is a poke champion heading into Soraka, who's a sustain champion,
right?
And so, yes, they've made some changes to Ezreal to make his poke a bit heavier. You know, obviously the change to his W, turning it from a useless ability into a button you can actually click in a game now. It still gets beat out by the heal, and so it's.
Yeah, I haven't heard that.
I don't know why they.
The rock paper scissors analogy in a while, but that's a great one to bring back into this. You're absolutely right.
And so I'm curious why they didn't choose to go with like a Lucian or hell, even a Misfortune. You know, a champion that's been, you know, changed up enough that, you know, is pretty aggressive in this early game. You know, if you run Dark Harvest, then it even, you know, current Dark Harvest, it hits like a truck, especially if you can get that what the heck is it called? Double up.
Oh yeah.
But we're in game, and something that we didn't touch on at all is this top lane Shyvana.
Yeah, it kind of flew under the radar.
It's gonna be AP Shyvana, you know, starting that Dark Seal. Really aggressive position in bot. I don't think he didn't see anybody because there's no. Oh, he saw Soraka. Okay, but doesn't even get the flash.
I mean, sometimes you just gotta hope for the best, right?
You just have to assert your dominance as the alpha bot laner.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting. They're carrying on that proactivity that they had near the end of the last game that kind of spiraled out of control for them. But since they're not behind in this game yet, maybe that'll work out well for them. We'll see.
Yeah, but I mean, going back to that top lane Shyvana, it's AP Shyvana or starting AP Shyvana. Maybe if she just dies, then she abandons that idea and goes full split push. But the current iteration of Shyvana is super weak. It's not a good champion right now. You know, basically doesn't have a passive, especially when you put her in the top lane, because she's not going to be anywhere near these dragons, right?
Yeah.
So that bonus damage to dragons doesn't matter. But Shyvana, I used to have a buddy. It was a Shyvana one trick in the top lane, and would just, you know, outsmart people. Built, you know, for the split push. Doesn't look like Granny Gamer's gonna get the chance though. Forced to flash. Counter flash gets the knock up. They're trying to go for the kill. Being only level 2 though means he doesn't have the spear poke, which means that's gonna work out for Granny Gamer.
Yeah, he actually kind of got more out of that than he should have by getting Zinjao to flash under tower for him. But that, again, on that lane matchup, I would like to be able to see him play that as a split push kind of Shyvana, because I do actually really like the 4-man group of the Swain, Nocturne, Ezreal, and Thresh. I feel like that'd be a great grouping to...
Typhoon's gonna get the blue buff, but he's hopefully trying to get a kill here. He is gonna go down. First blood over to Nova Typhoon. And that is bad news bears for this Big Black Clocks team. Nova is going to try and come in off the back end with that red buff. Doesn't get the second kill. It goes over to your only chance. But I got my team names mixed up. That is great news for Big Black Clocks.
Yeah, no, that's awesome for them. I mean, I don't know if the mentality from game 1 is just carried over for Whale Hunters with that just very extra aggressive mindset, but I feel like if that's really what they wanted to do, playing for these invades and the rotations early on, they maybe should have looked for the counter pick, looked for something that was a little stronger early game in the jungle, because Nocturne and the Xin Zhao is just not a matchup that really goes very well for the first 4 levels.
Yeah, Nova definitely gets bopped every time they meet up.
Yeah, like he is right there.
Yeah, like he definitely wasn't expecting anybody to stop him on that blue buff. You know, he knew that Xin Zhao had gone top and had ganked, you know, and killed his top laner. So he really thought he was going to be free and clear on that invade. And then bot lane showed up, right? And even though you're not supposed to be afraid of Vayne Soraka when they're level 2, you kind of have to be at least a little bit, right? And so Nova decided not to flash the wall into Banana Bush there. Had he done that, he might have gotten away. Tried to take the fight, tried to use, you know, that double buffs to get the kill onto Deep Focus, and it just backfired tremendously.
Yeah, it definitely did there. I want to look here at the mid lane. We saw a second ago both the mid laners blowing flash at each other, we do still see the Victor. He did take the Ignite Summoner, whereas Swain took the Teleport, so as we get a little further into this game, the Teleport will become a little more useful. But for right now, Licenseless has the priority in this lane, especially being able to back and get that blasting wand first.
Yeah, Jumper definitely learned from last time. He goes, I'm not going to win the 1v1, probably. Or even if he's not thinking that, he knows that, hey, I lost it last time. Maybe I lose it again. And so he decides to take the Teleport just in case, and we can see it's already working out for him where he's actually ahead in CS this.
Yeah, he's doing much better. I mean, there was that one point in the first, 5 minutes where he was down like 24-7 in the first game.
Yeah,
so
it was no good.
Yeah, definitely doing a little bit better. And in the bot lane, Soraka doing some roaming, leaving the Vayne to try to farm by herself. That's not a lane where she can really farm without her duo.
Yeah, I mean it's. I don't think current Vayne's like early levels are really that bad at all. When you look at some of the competition she has, and so, you know, being in a situation that she's in right now, she's got, you know, a full item, already has those Berserker Greaves. I don't think she's super mad about, you know, Soraka leaving. And then right now, Soraka's back, and look at what she can do now that her support showed up again.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know about tumbling into the hook, but everything else was great.
I mean, even she knew this Soraka was there, and that any true damage that she was actually going to take, true damage, I just meant like any damage she actually takes,
Would be
is
mitigated.
just going to be, mitigated.
Yeah.
And, you know, throwing the hook at the Vayne is actually a pretty big thing,
Ooh.
but that hook's going to land, and that is obliteration for the kill side of Hunters. They're going to pick up a kill onto their AD carry, and that is big news for them.
Yeah, they needed that. And I'm interested to see what's going to happen here next. It looks like they're not going to pursue deep focus under the tower, which is a good decision since Chance had made his rotation down. But that's a huge play. Nova really needed that, being able to be a part of something. Even soaking up a little bit of the lane experience there is going to help him pick up. And ooh, the Ignite going down on focus.
The Ignite went down. That auto attack's going to be it. Fishing and bot, cleaning up the kill. Nova not quite 6.
Yeah, but focus is only 4.
Ooh, Chance is going to go in, forces the ultimate out. Jumper's going to get ulted right back. Nova's like, I'm here, friend, I'm helping. Does get the hail of blades, but he's just going to be forced back. He knows that he's not getting any real help from Jumper there.
Yeah, just to touch on that jungle matchup a little more. Right now, even though it looked like Chance was starting to pull ahead at the beginning, because Nova is doing such a good job of farming his jungle, he actually does have a little bit of a lead, and he's got that 10 CS lead as Soraka's trying to get the solo kill.
No. About to bust, buddy. What are you doing? It's not worth it.
At least Vayne was able to get the final hit in there.
That's why it's super not worth it. Like he gets the kill. Yes. If this was literally any other matchup besides Vayne, that's probably worth it. But Vayne is just gonna outscale you into infinity because you're, and so he means well.
Yeah.
But it's not gonna work.
But speaking of meaning well,
no.
the rotations.
Rotatos. He's gonna take the lantern to safety though, and now Granny Gamer really shouldn't be there. But all right, this is also huge. Free 160 gold to the Vayne for cleaning up that tower plating because the support wasn't there. So in a matchup that's already pretty unfortunate for the Israel, you know, 160 gold doesn't sound like a lot, but it adds up, especially if you can get a couple of them.
Yeah, I mean,
Here
it's
comes
already
the Nocturne ultimate on to the Soraka, gets the fear, following it up, trying to get the kill. Barrier gets popped. The hook goes out. It's going to land onto the Vayne. Gets thrown back in. Fishing and bot picks up his second kill of the game.
All right, that was a solid play. I really like the fact that Nova went in on that and focused the Soraka. Basically said, hey, you know, I don't want you to sit here and be able to heal up the whole fight. Keep the Vayne alive to kill us all. Pick up the heavy damage on the Soraka, and then being able to land that massive hook onto the Vayne. They did have the little bit of vision in the bush, so that it wasn't a completely blind hook, but still a nice long-range hook. And now they're making the counter invade play. This is looking good for Whale Hunters. The last couple minutes, they're making the plays happen.
Yeah, and getting the kill onto Vayne's actually really too, because even though she's not going to lose too much CS to the tower, with Ezreal already being so far behind, any really catch-up amount counts. So even if it's, 1 CS here, 2 CS here, every time you make it happen, it counts.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this lane continues to play out. We do see Ezreal finally picking up the Sheen. He's also got the tier that he's been stacking, whereas Vayne is going for that Blade of the Ruined King, which is just still such a great build. It's been the iconic build of Vayne for such a long time.
Actually throws down the Ignite on the Deep Focus. I think that was really ambitious of him.
Yeah, it was definitely maybe just trying to mitigate the damage or the healing being provided by Soraka, hoping that they would be able to put out enough damage to finish Focus off before the Ignite ticked down. But if nothing else, they're at least players in this lane. They're not sitting idly by trying to farm CS. They're making plays happen. Chance though, he's sitting in this bush. He's been able to sneak in. Typhoon in the mid.
Ryder's gonna get rooted up. He's trying to get the trade kill, and it's possible. There is so much damage being put out there. Ryder's gonna go 1-for-1 in the mid lane, and now Chance is gonna give up his in the bottom lane. The hook is on cooldown, so Fishing can't go for it just yet. But that's a lot of damage being put out on About to Bust. That hook's just gonna get watched as it goes right by. Chance coming back down. There's no ultimate available for Nova, so he's gonna have to just walk right up to him.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what plays out here in the bot lane. They did throw down another pink ward in that tri-bush, so Chance could be sitting down there and they wouldn't know. Luckily for Fishing and Bust, that Nova did make the roam down bot, so if something did break out, they would have the 3v3 instead of the 3v2. But it looks like the bot lane and the jungler from the side of Clocks are just going to go ahead and back out, take what they've gotten, and try to keep the game even for the most part. They are up, a little bit of gold, a couple hundred gold right now, but still no real significant plays that have been game deciding in this matchup so far.
And I'm actually a little surprised about how little dragon focus there's been. Ocean Drake, it's not the S tier Drake for most people. Personally, I think it's actually really underrated, because even though the percentages are fairly small, if you just get free regen in lane, it counts. It helps. And if you're being shoved under tower repeatedly every time you come to lane, then as long as you can stay out of combat for even just a little bit, especially with the Ezreal, and get some mana back, I think it's pretty important.
Yeah, definitely. There was one point that we talked about last game, the vision that was really slacking a little bit for Whale Hunters when they were trying to make these proactive plays. And a second ago, we did see a lot of vision on the map for Clocks, but in the last minute or so, Whale Hunters have definitely put down a little bit more vision, especially around that dragon that you were talking about. And
here comes the ultimate from Nova. You're going to get the flash out of your only chance. Can they follow it up? Though Nova's taken super low. He goes down. And Licenseless is going to get pulled in, yanked in. But there's just no damage. And this tower in the bottom lane is not long for this world.
Yeah, they're providing a ton of damage on that bot turret. And I think that's really where Clocks is going to thrive in terms of keeping an advantage. Is going to be the turret objectives so far, especially, not even really counting the last game. But they've seemed to have done a little bit better than Whale Hunters in terms of making the rotations. In the previous game we did see them get the bot turret and then immediately go top to pick up that turret. So they seem to know how to win the game, right? They're playing what their win condition is.
Yeah, and their rotations are really crisp. It's very often that Whale Hunters will make a play and at least one other member from Clocks will be in the area and be able to respond, which is really impactful, as we've seen, obviously, because just like last game, that big top lane play where Hunters was like, we did it, we killed the cannon, and then all of a sudden, jungle bot lane shows up and everybody dies. So it's things like that that make the game really easy.
Yeah, and the top lane,
to see if Nova can see him, throws on to Smite. They're trying so hard, but there's just so many options available to this Akali to stay out of it. And Nova, buddy.
Nova. I mean, he got the kill, but he gave up a bounty for it.
He gave up a $500 bounty for it.
To an Akali.
Yeah,
That's a big one.
That's when Akali says GG next, because like I was saying in Champ Select, this Feast champion, there's a lot of them on big black clocks, but the hook is gonna miss. Oh no, the sacrificial! There's so much damage being put out. Soraka is still alive, however. Deep Focus is just raining down arrows. Gonna get the second kill of the fight as well, and the Whale Hunters were not able to do anything.
No, that was just a massive turnaround from Clocks. Soraka being able to keep everybody alive and rotating after finishing off that Ocean Drake. But now...
Here comes Nova for the counter engage. He throws down the spell shield. He's trying to just keep on licenseless, but he's just... Come on, man. There's a tower there. What are you doing?
Oh,
He gets the kill, but he trades it right back. Granny Gamer's going to take the Lantern to safety, and this AP Shyvana is now up to 5 stacks on that Dark Seal, coming from a hard 0.
Alright.
Is this...
I was gonna say, let's look on the bright side. Nova, even though he dove tower again, at least this time he didn't give up a bounty for it, because he didn't have another one to give up.
He still gave up 300 gold, though.
He did give up 300 gold just to pick up a kill. And I was looking at the gold here a second ago, and obviously in the last couple of minutes we've seen this gold league grow to almost 4k gold in favor of Clocks. But it's really on. We've got the Akali up about 1,000 gold. The Xin Zhao and the Nocturne are close, but Victor is up almost 2k gold, and Vayne is up almost 1k, a little over 1k gold. So the carries on the side of Clocks are the ones that have the advantage right now, which is, that's very ideal for them. I mean, I don't know what Whale Hunters can do to really mitigate that.
Fishing and Bot's gonna try and get away. Really good blast cone keeps him away from the Xin Zhao. Unfortunately, that Akali dagger doesn't really have a range limit on it. You can take that from quite a ways out.
Yeah, you can. That was a great pickup from Akali. Once again, just Clocks roaming together as a group, making the right rotations. Now they're looking to pick up an inner turret.
They weren't able to get the Rift Herald this game. Nova, unfortunately, he's spell shielded the wrong ability. Ooh, that's big! Licenseless is going to get hooked back in. Soraka says, not today! And they're going to get the first inner turret in the mid lane.
Yeah, and you mentioned that they didn't get the Rift Herald this game. They didn't get it yet. They still got 2 minutes. We'll see. I would not be surprised if they rotated forward right now.
With the jungler down, that might be the next play. Yeah. And now that they have an inhibitor turret open in the mid lane,
yeah, it could be massive
things
once
could start
again.
spiraling.
Just like last game, it could just be over in a minute.
Yeah. Good news is it's already longer than last game, so there is hope.
That is very true, and it looks like Whale Hunters are going to try to contest this one.
Okay, that was a weird little spectator bug. I was like, why is Vayne 1v melee? Unfortunately for the Whale Hunters, this Vayne is not in melee range and is just running down every member of the team. They do get the first kill. They blow the wish because Shyvana's in the backside. TP coming in from the Akali. Nova's going to trade 1 for 1. And what more can happen? Nova actually gets a second kill out of it. But, oh, that hook! That's huge! It keeps Akali away for just a second. Unfortunately, Ezreal's not jumping around enough. But he teams up with Shyvana, his waifu. They do get the kill onto the Akali. And now Deep Focus is very low. Condemned there. Keeps about to bust away, but not far enough away. That restraining order is busted. And that is another kill going over to the 80 carry of Whale Hunters.
Yeah, I mean, overall, that was a pretty good play. Again, that hook was massive. Not only did it keep Akali away from the Ezreal carry for a second there, but that was her ultimate. It canceled out the damage that she was about to put down on Bust because she wasn't able to get across his body there. So that was a massive play throughout that team fight. And that might be able to help keep this team in the game for a little longer. The big focus now for them has to be mitigating the Rift Herald that Xin Zhao is now holding. They have to be able to make the right rotation and keep this from doing too much damage.
Yeah, so even though Whale Hunters won the fight, the Rift Herald was still able to go over 2 big black clocks. And
Yeah.
so that's potentially another tower that they can take almost for free. Because with even in the top lane with how much damage I was able to do earlier, if Xin Zhao can get a free second to just pop it and run away, that's going to be a tower going down. So a one fight, yeah, but they may end up losing objectively.
Yeah. Speaking of objectives, picking up a second Ocean Drake now, it's going to make these sieges all the more easy. I mean, you mentioned it earlier, some people might not consider it a top tier Drake, but it's so good when you have that just healing you up as you're trying to make these long, drawn-out sieges, especially if they continue to go for this 4-1 that they've been doing, leaving Akali by herself.
And so this AP Shyvana, we touched on it very briefly earlier, but it's now 3-1-4, has a fully stacked Dark Seal, has a completed Nashor's Tooth, and is going for a Rabadon's Death Cap. And we saw how much damage it did in the last fight. Is that the win condition? Is that how the Whale Hunters win this game?
I think the win condition is being able to pick off the carries like we saw in that last fight. The fact that they were actually able to get on to the Victor, or not the Victor, the Vayne in that last fight and finish her off before she was able to go on to the carries of Whale Hunter. I mean, I know that is a little oversimplifying it, but just the fact that they have these champions like Nocturne and like Shyvana that can make dive plays like that and can easily burst a champion if they get onto him.
Ooh, that's a huge hook! License of Strider's already so low. They burned the Wish and it is no longer available. Nova Typhoon goes in. Granny Gamer's in the back line but gets condemned into the wall. Gonna survive by the scare of her dragon teeth, and Deep Focus is not surrendering yet. Gonna flash in. Oh no! Gets
the
blasted
Shyvana
in the face. AP Shyvana says hello. The True Shot Barrage is not gonna connect for the kill, and with this Soraka they can now remount an offensive.
Yeah, and I luckily for the Whale Hunters, that fight didn't turn out too badly. I feel like Nova diving in there with his ultimate.
Oh no! He locked himself into the Mystic Shot animation and ends up getting burned by the Death Laser.
Oh, and they used the Rift on it.
This is going to be a big Rift Herald, too.
Yeah. But anyways, they bursted down the Victor heavily after that first hook in that fight. And if Nova wouldn't win on the Victor, he could have killed him, right? But now we see him alive helping push this inhib turret and picking it up. I think he just kind of picked the wrong champion in that fight, and it turned a fight that could have been in favor of Whale Hunters into just a neutral 2-for-2 trade.
Yeah, he definitely thought the kill was secured, and unfortunately in League of Legends you can never think the kill is secured until you hear that enemy is dead notification. Nova unfortunately sacrificing himself just to get the kill. He is gonna go 1-for-1. Oh, the hook of a god! He gets it off the blast cone. They take another kill for themselves. Now here comes Granny Gamer trying to make it happen. One more auto attack is all it takes, but the Eye of Sauron claims another victim, and that is 3 kills going over to the Whale Hunters, and now they're going for a 4th.
Okay, a couple things. For one thing, we can say that regardless of how this game ends up, how the series ends up, fishing and bot on the Thresh has been a highlight for the Whale Hunters. He has landed some clutch hooks at some important times during both games. And also, that AP Shyvana damage is starting to get heavy, man. I see what you're talking about. I hadn't really noticed it too much in the first fight that we saw, but that burst that she was put onto Vayne there, it took about half of her health. Maybe 2/3 would be a better estimate, but it was massive just from the E combo.
Oh no, Nova, buddy, pal, oh friend of mine, you are gone, and you need to find yourself a warding buddy.
Yep, that's exactly what I was gonna say.
Everybody suggests it. You can search Craigslist for it. Just jungler looking for buddy. So, you need something, man.
Search Craigslist. Make sure you put it in the personal ads, alright?
There's the Victor damage making its way onto about to bust. Granny Gamer throws out the ultimate, and unfortunately Lee Saitama punches himself to victory. That's a ton of damage from Granny so far. He's trying to get the kill, but he doesn't have a Lich Bane. He does take out the the Soraka though, and now he's doing everything he can, gets another kill for himself. He may have just stopped the Baron.
Yeah, but they could go bot right now and get that open hit, which I'm hoping is what they're going to turn to. If they can't do the Baron, that's what it's looking. But
that's a lot of damage. Gets another kill. Nova's slowly redeeming himself in the eyes of the Lord, but it's not working out. He's gonna die once again. And now fishing in bot, friends, you can't hook your way out of this one. He is gonna just kind of fancy feet the wall. Doesn't have flash available. This is gonna be the end. There it is. Death Laser secures the kill.
Yeah, he burned that flash in the bot lane about a minute ago, trying to secure the kill onto the, I think it was the Vayne or the Victor, one of those two carries. But like you said, they were able to keep them off the Baron, at least for the moment. But now we've got the first Infernal Drake on the map, and it looks like Xin Zhao is posturing for that, and that would be pretty massive. We've already seen the Vayne scaling up. The Victor, man, gotta point him out. 13-3-5 at this point in the game. He's been a hard one for them to get on, and he's been putting out a massive amount of AoE damage for this team. But here comes the contest for the Dragon.
I don't think they can contest it. There's no jungler available for the Whale Hunters, and it is just the mid laner and the AD carry, and they're just taking tons of damage. There's the eyeball, but it's not enough. And like you said, that is a big damage Drake coming out for, you know, big black clocks.
Yeah, especially on the Victor, man. He's the AoE damage coming out from him. I really like the play that just to touch back on that team fight there a minute ago, that this Akali Lee was able to make, where he was able to dash in, pick up a quick kill, and then throw down the Shroud and get the Zhonya's in it. And it felt like it bought a lot of time where he was zoning the Thresh and the Shyvana with that Shroud, whereas the rest of his team was able to pick up a couple kills.
Oh no, fishing in bot. You and Nova, you gotta get together. Here comes Granny though, throwing down the ultimate, but it's not enough. Akali's gonna pick up the kill onto Ezreal now, and now gone for Whale Hunters. And so, oh my god, 80%! 80% damage
that is,
from one Flame's Breath. Gets the double kill. The Dragon form is about to end though, and that's where all this damage is coming. Nova though does spell shield a good portion of that Death Laser. Misses the path of darkness though, and so he's gonna get bopped for it. And now unfortunately Granny's gonna get walked down by Deep Focus.
This is reminding me of old school Nidalee. Now, don't get me wrong, Nidalee spears still do a lot of damage, but that's like just insane amounts of damage coming out from that breath.
And the difference here is that while you don't have the same range as the Nidalee spear, it's an AoE blow up.
Yeah.
Like when it hits that ground, it lollipops, and so you might be like, "Oh, I'm safe," and then boom, just like Soraka did there. And, you know, losing the Soraka there was actually pretty big, and they might have been able to force for quite a bit more had Soraka survived, because they would have had that healing option.
Absolutely, and if I'm the Soraka there, I completely understand her feeling safe. She was so far away from the Shyvana in that fight, but like you said, it just, that AoE burst of it, and also how it leaves behind the trail, where even if you're walking through it, you're taking damage from it. It's massive. But at this point in the game, they are able to pick up that inhib in the bot lane, which is going to give them the priority on this Baron. And once again, fishing in bot is trying to clear wards, trying to get some vision by himself. Hopefully it doesn't turn out as bad as last time.
So the biggest issue with these solo D-warders is that the enemy AD carry is Vayne, right? Has, you know, the passive that gives you move speed towards enemy champions, has this Blade of the Ruined King, Phantom Dancer combo, and then we see right there the Akali with the Gunblade. Did she go too deep, however? He's keeping him alive. Saitama's gonna get the Wish ultimate, takes down 2, and now it's all up to Granny again. That Banshee's Veil has so much magic resistance though, just laughs in the face of fire, and so now, even though everybody's super duper low, when you kill the enemy support and jungler, is this going to be the Baron call? The Swain ultimate's going to time out, doesn't get knocked up, does get slowed. There's the knockup finally. He's going to go down to Ryder in the mid lane. And now that is definitely going to be the Baron call. There's no more ultimate available for Granny Gamer. And there's actually not an available ultimate for About to Bust either. So this is going to be a free Baron take.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to highlight once again how great Lee's Akali, how great he's playing that champion. Because every fight they've had in the last 5 minutes, he's been diving onto the likes of Ezreal, Swain, Thresh, and he's been zoning essentially 3 champions on the back line. And it's been providing so much room for Deep Focus's Vayne and Licenseless to put out the damage on those champions, the Nocturne, and the Shyvana, or honestly, Shyvana really hasn't been going deep in. It's been more of the Swain going deep here. And just being able to give them time to whittle down those champions before trying to make the play on the back line. It's just been so effective.
And so you notice when Shyvana ults, she's not ulting into the enemy team like you would expect of like an AD or a tank Shyvana. And the reason being is that a lot of the damage on this build is from that E. And so even though you can ult in, and I believe the ult has AP ratios, I'm not 100% on. But like, the Q obviously doesn't. The W has a very small one, if any at all. And so it's a very one button build. And you have to be in Dragon Force. What? Oh no! What are you doing, fishing? You just interrupted my whole thing.
He just didn't want you to finish your statement. He doesn't. Yeah. He doesn't want you arguing against his Shyvana. He really enjoys this Shyvana AP.
But that's fine. 2 Oceans, 2 Infernos going over to Big Black Clock. They're going to be timing out the Baron very shortly, which haven't done anything with the Baron itself. Thankfully for Whale Hunters, the reason being is that they have 0 Baron clear. Right? You have Swain who's AP, Shyvana who's AP, and Ezreal who has Mystic Shot. Like, you are never going to kill Baron minions with this team comp. And we can see here, it looking like the beginning of the end. Here comes the Dark Shadows. There's Nova Typhoon going in. Cannot get the kill onto the Soraka. And now Deep Focus is let loose. Soraka's going to go down, but not before the double kill coming in for Deep Focus. There goes the 3rd kill of the match. It's a double-double for Big Black Clocks. Can they finish it out? Ezreal is running for the hills. And it looks like they're just going to focus on to the Nexus turrets. The 2nd turret's going to go down. That is going to be game 2, set and match, going over to Big Black Clocks.
Yeah, that was a clean finish coming out from Clocks. It was an interesting attempt once again from the side of Whale Hunters. They've been struggling to get their damage onto the back line there, so keeping 3 of their champions in that side bush, waiting for Clocks to kind of push in and see if they could get something off of it coming in behind them. But ultimately, they were just a little too far behind at that point. Clocks still had a lot of their summoners. We saw the Soraka and Vayne both blow their flashes in that last fight. So it's just a little too late from the side of Whale Hunters to really turn the clock back.
Yeah, and they had a moment where victory was reachable, when that Shyvana was hitting everybody and then we saw Vayne pick up a Hex Drinker, we saw the Banshee's Veil on the Akali, we saw these MR pickups, and all of a sudden the only one really getting hurt by the Shyvana is now the Soraka. And unless Shyvana gets that full engage onto the Soraka, she doesn't die. Because we saw even in that last fight, Nova tried to make it happen. Barrier flash got popped by Soraka. She lives, throws down the wish. Everybody then just collapses onto Nova, who, while his KDA doesn't look good, he didn't have a bad game. He did what his team needed to him. He had a rough matchup in the jungle, counterpart, but he made it work, and he was able to get some opportunities for his team. It's just that their team comp, while eccentric, had a very narrow window for victory there.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to highlight that once again, I mean, a lot of the times when Nova was diving in, he was trading 1-for-1. Like you said, his KD might not necessarily reflect that, but overall, yeah, I really just feel like the matchups just did not work out well for him. And we kind of highlighted it at the beginning of the game with the Vayne and the Victor. These are just massively scaling champions. And the fact that this game did go 32 minutes and it was fairly close for the first 20 or so, meant that these champions were able to hit that threshold and really start to put out a lot of damage. I think really the deciding factor for the side of clocks, even though if you look at the KDs, might not look like it, was that Akali zoning in the team fights. Now, don't get me wrong, Vayne and Victor were doing a ton of damage in those fights, especially Victor with the AoE damage early on. He was really the carry that kind of got them into the mid game while they were ahead. But the Akali, the way she played her champion as a zoning assassin, just worked out beautifully for the team fight.
Yeah, and that's, a lot of that is the Shroud just completely obfuscating, an entire area. And especially when you're in the jungle like that, the smoke does conform to the walls. And so you can lock down a lot of area there because you can't walk through the Shroud because Akali's still in there and is just spamming out Qs and passive auto attacks and just lots of damage. And so when you have a very burst focused team, because you had the Shyvana E that's only up every 5 seconds or so, the Mystic shots that even if you hit it is still about a 1 second cooldown, the Swain Qs, which are like every 8 or 9 seconds, I believe, at that point of the time.
Yeah.
And so when you don't instantly kill the Akali, then she just sits in her Shroud and just spams Q and auto attacks you. Meanwhile, Vayne's hitting you from farther away than you can actually hit because you effectively have like 3 or 4 melee champions, right? Because Shyvana, even with her E, that's all she has in that build path. Ezreal is your longest range attacker who's just mystic shotting. Swain has to be close, Nocturne has to be melee range, and Thresh has to be basically melee range because he needs to land the hook. So it's Vayne paradise at that point.
Yeah, definitely. And with that, we're seeing Big Black Clocks moving on with the 2-0, winning off for this week, and hopefully wishing the best of luck to both of these teams going on. This is only week 2, so they got 5 more weeks to be able to up their win rates and then prepare themselves for the finals or for the playoffs. And thank you again, Doctor, for joining me with this series. It's been a good time, man.
Yeah, anytime. I love casting League of Legends.
Yeah, man, it's been fun. But for us, we're going to go in and sign off. Thank you guys at Prophecy Cup for running this stream, and have a good night. I mean, he got the kill, but he gave up a bounty for it.
He gave up a $500 bounty for it.
To an Akali.
Yeah,
that's a big
that's when Akali says GG next, because like I was saying in Champ Select, this Feast champion, there's a lot of them on Big Black Clocks, but the hook is gonna miss. Oh no, the sacrificial! There's so much damage being put out. Soraka is still alive, however. Deep Focus is just raining down arrows. Gonna get the second kill of the fight as well, and the Whale Hunters were not melee range, and is just running down every member of the team. They do get the first kill. They blow the Wish because Shyvana's in the backside. TP coming in from the Akali. Nova's going to trade 1 for 1. And what more can happen? Nova actually gets a second kill out of it. But, oh, that hook! That's huge! It keeps Akali away for just a second. Unfortunately, Ezreal's not jumping around enough. But he teams up with Shyvana, his waifu. They do get the kill onto the Akali. And now Deep Focus is very low. Condemned there, keeps about
simplifying it, but just the fact that they have these champions like Nocturne and like Shyvana that can make dive plays like that and can easily burst a champion if they get onto him.
Ooh, that's a huge hook. Licenseless Rider's already so low. They burned the Wish and it is no longer available. Nova Typhoon goes in. Granny Gamers in the back line, but gets condemned into the wall. Gonna survive by the scare of her dragon teeth, and Deep Focus is not surrendering yet. Gonna flash in. Oh no! Gets blasted in the face. Granny though throwing down the ultimate, but it's not enough. Akali's gonna pick up the kill onto Ezreal now, and now gone for Whale Hunters. And so, oh my god, 80%! 80% damage
that is,
from one Flame's Breath. Gets the double kill. The dragon form is about to end, though, and that's where all this damage is coming. Nova, though, does spell shield a good portion of that death laser. Misses the path of darkness, though, and so he's gonna get bopped for it. And now, unfortunately, Granny's gonna get walked down.